The black Bentley moved slowly through the crowded streets of London's West End as thousands of people lined the barriers, their phones held high, hoping to catch a glimpse of royalty. Inside the luxury vehicle, Catherine, Princess of Wales, adjusted her sparkling diamond earrings one final time, while Prince William straightened his white bow tie. The annual Royal Variety performance was one of their favorite events, and tonight promised to be extra special. "Look at all those people," Catherine whispered to her husband as she peered through the tinted window. The crowd stretched for blocks, with children sitting on their parents' shoulders and elderly fans wrapped in blankets despite the November chill. British flags waved enthusiastically and handmade signs declaring, "We love Kate and William," bobbed above the sea of heads. William smiled warmly at his wife, admiring how the theater lights caught the deep blue of her elegant gown. "They're here for the performers too, you know," he said with a gentle laugh, though they both knew the crowd's excitement was largely for them. Catherine had chosen a stunning midnight blue dress by one of her favorite designers, its flowing fabric catching the light as she moved. Her hair was styled in an elegant updo, allowing her sapphire and diamond earrings to sparkle brilliantly. As their car approached the London Palladium, the roar of the crowd became almost deafening. Police officers lined the red carpet, and photographers from around the world had positioned themselves behind metal barriers, their cameras ready to capture every moment. The historic theater, which had hosted the Royal Variety performance for decades, glowed with warm golden lights against the dark November sky. "Your Royal Highnesses, we're about to arrive," announced their protection officer from the front seat. Both William and Catherine took a deep breath, transforming from a relaxed married couple into the composed royals the public expected to see. The car door opened, and William stepped out first, his formal evening wear impeccable as always. He turned immediately to help Catherine from the vehicle, offering his hand with the practiced grace of someone who had performed this routine thousands of times. As her elegant heels touched the red carpet, the crowd erupted in cheers that echoed off the surrounding buildings. Catherine's smile was radiant as she emerged, waving gracefully to the enthusiastic crowd. Her dress flowed beautifully as she moved, and the cameras captured every angle of her stunning appearance. William placed his hand gently on her back, a small gesture that showed their genuine affection, even in such a public moment. "Kate! Kate!" voices called from the crowd, though some still shouted, "Catherine," respecting her preference for her formal name. Children pressed against the barriers, hoping for a wave or smile from the princess. She didn't disappoint, taking time to acknowledge different sections of the crowd, her genuine warmth evident in every gesture. The couple began their walk along the red carpet toward the theater entrance. William looked distinguished in his perfectly tailored black tailcoat, white waistcoat, and white bow tie, the traditional formal wear required for such prestigious royal occasions. His military posture and confident stride showed his comfort in these formal settings, despite once being the reluctant prince who preferred casual outdoor activities. Catherine moved beside him with natural elegance, her years of royal training evident in every step. She had mastered the art of walking in heels on a red carpet while managing a flowing gown, waving to crowds, and maintaining perfect posture for photographers. Her smile never wavered, and she seemed genuinely delighted to be there. Theater officials and dignitaries lined up near the entrance, ready to greet the royal couple. The Lord Lieutenant stood at attention, preparing for the formal introductions that would begin the evening's proceedings. Behind them, the theater's ornate facade provided a magnificent backdrop for what photographers already knew would be some of the evening's best shots. As they approached the receiving line, Catherine subtly adjusted her clutch bag and checked that her dress was falling perfectly. William noticed the small gesture and gave her an almost imperceptible nod of reassurance. After more than a decade of marriage and countless royal engagements, they had developed their own silent language of support and encouragement. The theater manager stepped forward first, bowing deeply before extending his hand to Prince William. "Your Royal Highness, welcome to the London Palladium. We're absolutely thrilled to have you here tonight." William shook the man's hand firmly. His training evident in how he made eye contact and offered a genuine smile that put the clearly nervous official at ease. "Thank you so much for having us," William replied, his voice carrying easily despite the crowd noise. "We always look forward to the Royal Variety performance. Catherine and I are excited to see what tonight's performers have prepared." Catherine stepped forward gracefully as she was introduced to the theater's artistic director. "Your Royal Highness," the woman said with a curtsy, "we have an absolutely spectacular show planned tonight. Some incredible British talent alongside international stars." "How wonderful," Catherine responded, her voice warm and interested. "We love seeing the range of performers who participate. It's such a celebration of entertainment in all its forms." Her genuine enthusiasm was evident, and the artistic director visibly relaxed, pleased by the princess's obvious interest. As they continued through the receiving line, meeting various officials and dignitaries, the crowd's excitement never diminished. Photographers continued capturing every moment, knowing these images would appear in newspapers and magazines around the world the next day. The royal couple's obvious chemistry and genuine enjoyment of each other's company made for compelling photographs. A young performer from the evening's show was brought forward to meet them, clearly nervous but excited beyond belief. The teenage singer from Wales had won a talent competition and earned her place on the prestigious stage. Catherine immediately put her at ease, crouching slightly to speak at the girl's eye level despite her formal gown. "Are you excited about performing tonight?" Catherine asked, her genuine interest evident. The young singer nodded enthusiastically, momentarily forgetting her nerves in the princess's warm presence. "Yes, Your Royal Highness. I can't believe I'm actually here, and I can't believe I'm meeting you." The girl's excitement was infectious, and both William and Catherine laughed warmly. William joined the conversation, asking about the song she would be performing and where she was from in Wales. His questions were thoughtful and showed genuine interest in her journey to this moment. The brief conversation would undoubtedly be a highlight of the young performer's life, and the photographers captured every moment of the sweet interaction. As they moved toward the theater entrance, Catherine and William paused to wave one final time to the crowd. The enthusiastic cheers and applause followed them as they disappeared into the ornate lobby of the historic venue, ready to begin the formal portion of their evening. Inside the London Palladium, the atmosphere was electric with anticipation. The historic theater had been decorated magnificently for the royal occasion, with fresh flowers adorning every surface and the royal box, prepared with plush velvet chairs and crystal glasses. Catherine and William were escorted through the ornate corridors, lined with portraits of legendary performers who had graced this very stage over the decades. The theater's general manager walked beside them, pointing out various historical features as they made their way to the royal box. "This theater has such incredible history, Your Royal Highnesses," he explained enthusiastically. "Everyone from Frank Sinatra to the Beatles has performed on our stage. Tonight's show continues that tradition of bringing together the very best in entertainment." Catherine paused to admire a vintage photograph of previous royal visits to the venue. "It's amazing to think of all the memorable performances that have happened here," she said, studying the black and white images with genuine fascination. "We feel very honored to be continuing this wonderful tradition." As they approached the royal box, the sound of the orchestra tuning their instruments drifted from the stage below. The musicians were preparing for what would be a spectacular evening of music, comedy, and theatrical performances. William glanced at the program that had been handed to him, noting the impressive lineup of both established stars and rising talents. "Oh, look," Catherine said, pointing to one of the acts listed in the program. That young magician we met at the Children's Hospital last month is performing tonight. How wonderful that his career is taking off so well." Her memory for the people they met during their royal duties was remarkable, and William smiled at her genuine pleasure in seeing someone they had encountered doing well. The royal box offered a perfect view of the entire theater, and as they settled into their seats, both Catherine and William took a moment to appreciate the grandeur of their surroundings. The ornate ceiling with its detailed moldings and crystal chandeliers created an atmosphere of timeless elegance. Below them, the audience was filing into their seats, many stealing glances up at the royal box where they sat. A theater assistant approached discreetly with champagne flutes on a silver tray. "Would your Royal Highnesses care for some refreshment before the performance begins?" William accepted a glass while Catherine opted for sparkling water, always mindful of maintaining perfect composure throughout their public appearances. "The performers must be getting quite nervous backstage," William observed, checking his watch and noting they were just minutes away from curtain time. "I remember how nerve-wracking it was appearing in those school plays as a child. I can't imagine performing in front of an audience like this." Catherine laughed softly at the memory of her husband's childhood stage fright. "You did beautifully in that Christmas nativity play, though I heard from your father that you forgot your lines and just stood there waving at the audience." Their easy conversation and shared memories highlighted the genuine partnership that had made them such beloved public figures. The house lights began to dim, and a hush fell over the packed theater. Catherine straightened her dress one final time and placed her program on the small table beside her chair. William adjusted his position slightly, ensuring he would have the best view of the stage while remaining visible to the audience members who occasionally glanced toward the royal box. The orchestra struck the opening chords of the national anthem, and the entire theater rose to their feet. Catherine and William stood with perfect posture, their hands clasped respectfully as hundreds of voices joined together in the familiar melody. The moment was deeply moving, representing the connection between the monarchy and the British people through their shared love of performance and entertainment. As the anthem concluded and the audience settled back into their seats, the master of ceremonies took the stage. He was a beloved British comedian, known for his quick wit and ability to handle any situation with humor and grace. "Ladies and gentlemen, your Royal Highnesses," he began with a theatrical bow toward the royal box. "Welcome to this year's Royal Variety performance." The crowd erupted in applause, and Catherine and William waved graciously in acknowledgement. The comedian continued with a few gentle jokes about the royal family that had clearly been carefully vetted beforehand, drawing laughter from both the audience and the royal couple themselves. William's hearty laugh at a particularly clever quip about his father's environmental activism showed his ability to appreciate good-natured humor about his family. The first act took the stage, a contemporary dance troupe that had won several international competitions. Their performance was breathtaking, combining classical ballet techniques with modern choreography that told the story of British history through movement. Catherine watched with obvious fascination, her background in art history giving her a deep appreciation for the creative interpretation unfolding before them. "That was absolutely incredible," she whispered to William as the dancers took their bows to thunderous applause. The young performers looked toward the royal box and curtsied and bowed respectfully, their faces glowing with pride at performing for such a distinguished audience. Next came a singer-songwriter who had recently achieved international success with her deeply personal lyrics and haunting melodies. She dedicated her performance to all the young people struggling to find their voice in the world, a message that clearly resonated with both William and Catherine, who had made youth mental health one of their primary charitable focuses. The performance was so moving that several audience members wiped away tears, and when the singer finished, Catherine was among the first to rise for a standing ovation. The genuine emotion on the princess's face as she applauded showed how deeply the performance had affected her, and the singer looked up at the royal box with obvious gratitude. During the brief intermission, Catherine and William were introduced to several of the evening's performers backstage. The narrow corridors were filled with costume racks and makeup stations, creating an exciting atmosphere of controlled chaos that fascinated the royal couple. They spent time chatting with a ventriloquist who had them both laughing with his quick wit and impressive skills. "How do you make it look so effortless?" Catherine asked, genuinely curious about the technical aspects of his performance. The performer was delighted to explain some of the basics, even demonstrating a few simple techniques that had William attempting to throw his voice with amusing results. A group of young acrobats from a London circus school were particularly excited to meet the royal couple. These teenagers had trained for years to reach this level, and their dedication reminded William and Catherine of the young athletes they often met through their sports patronages. The prince asked detailed questions about their training routines and the mental focus required for their dangerous-looking stunts. "It's not as scary as it looks," one of the young performers explained confidently. "We've practiced these routines thousands of times. The hard part is doing it perfectly when there are cameras and important people watching." Catherine smiled at the honest admission, understanding exactly how pressure could affect performance. As they returned to the royal box for the second half of the show, both William and Catherine were energized by their interactions with the performers. The genuine talent and dedication they had witnessed backstage made them even more excited for what was still to come in the evening's entertainment. The second act opened with a tribute to British musical theatre, featuring songs from beloved shows that had originated in London's West End. The medley included everything from classic productions to newer hits, showcasing the incredible range and continuing vitality of British theatrical tradition. Catherine sang along softly to several of the more familiar numbers, her obvious enjoyment adding to the warm atmosphere in the royal box. As the evening progressed, each act seemed to surpass the previous one in terms of skill and entertainment value. There were comedians who had the entire theater in stitches, musicians who showcased both traditional and contemporary British sounds, and performers who pushed the boundaries of what was possible with technology and artistry combined. As the evening reached its crescendo, the atmosphere in the London Palladium was absolutely magical. The final act of the night was a collaboration between several of Britain's most celebrated performers, coming together for a special tribute that had been kept secret until this very moment. Catherine and William leaned forward in their seats, clearly intrigued by the mysterious setup taking place on stage below. The stage lights dimmed to a warm golden glow as a children's choir from across the Commonwealth countries filed onto the stage, their voices beginning a hauntingly beautiful arrangement of Bridge Over Troubled Water. The song choice was particularly meaningful, as it represented the royal family's commitment to bringing people together and supporting those in need during difficult times. Catherine's eyes glistened with emotion as the young voices filled the theater. She had always been deeply moved by children's performances, and this international choir representing countries from around the world touched her heart in a profound way. William noticed his wife's reaction and reached over to gently squeeze her hand, a gesture of support and shared emotion. As the choir continued, individual performers who had appeared earlier in the evening joined them on stage one by one. The young magician added visual wonder to the musical performance, creating illusions that seemed to make golden butterflies dance above the children's heads. The contemporary dance troupe moved gracefully between the choir members, their flowing movements adding an ethereal quality to the already moving performance. The teenage singer from Wales stepped forward for a solo verse, her clear voice soaring above the choir with confidence that seemed impossible for someone so young. Catherine found herself thinking about her own children and hoping they would grow up with such courage and determination to pursue their dreams. When the final notes faded away, the entire theater erupted in the longest and most enthusiastic applause of the evening. Catherine and William rose immediately to their feet, leading the standing ovation that seemed to go on forever. The performers on stage looked up at the royal box with radiant smiles, clearly thrilled by the response to their collaborative finale. "That was absolutely extraordinary," Catherine said to the theater manager, who had appeared in the royal box to escort them backstage for the traditional meet and greet with all the performers. The way everyone came together for that final number was truly special. The journey backstage was now a celebration, with performers still in their costumes mingling in the corridors and dressing rooms. The atmosphere was electric, with the satisfaction of a show well done and the excitement of meeting the royal couple. Catherine and William moved through the crowded backstage area, taking time to speak personally with each performer. They encountered the comedian, who had served as master of ceremonies, still glowing from the success of his hosting duties. "Your Royal Highnesses were such good sports about my little jokes," he said with a grin. "I was slightly worried about that one about the corgis, but Prince William's laugh told me it was all right." William chuckled at the memory. "My grandmother would have found it hilarious too. She always appreciated good humor, especially when it was about the things she loved most." The mention of Queen Elizabeth II brought a moment of respectful reflection before the conversation continued in its celebratory tone. The young magician was surrounded by other performers who were asking about his techniques, but he immediately turned his attention to Catherine and William when they approached. "Your Royal Highnesses, thank you so much for being here tonight. This has been the most incredible experience of my life." Catherine was particularly interested in hearing about his journey from the children's hospital performance they had attended to this prestigious stage. "You've clearly worked very hard to develop your skills since we last saw you," she observed. "It's wonderful to see young people pursuing their passions with such dedication." The conversation was interrupted by a group of young acrobats who were still buzzing with adrenaline from their death-defying performance. They demonstrated a few simple moves for the royal couple, resulting in much laughter when William attempted to copy their techniques, with his formal evening wear restricting his movement. "Perhaps I should stick to polo," he laughed, adjusting his bow tie after his unsuccessful attempt at a cartwheel. The genuine humor and self-deprecation endeared him even more to the young performers, who were clearly charmed by his willingness to participate in their demonstrations. As they continued through the backstage area, Catherine and William encountered the singer-songwriter who had performed the emotional ballad earlier in the evening. She was quietly packing her guitar, still seeming somewhat overwhelmed by the magnitude of the experience. "Your performance was truly moving," Catherine told her sincerely. "The message in your song about finding strength during difficult times really resonated with us. Music has such power to heal and inspire." The young woman's face lit up with gratitude. "Thank you so much, Your Royal Highness. Knowing that the message reached you means everything to me. I hope my music can help people the way yours and Prince William's work helps people every day." The International Children's Choir was gathered in one of the larger dressing rooms, their excitement palpable as they prepared to meet the royal couple. When Catherine and William entered, the children fell silent for a moment before erupting in nervous giggles and whispers in various languages. William immediately put them at ease by attempting to greet them in several different languages, his pronunciation bringing delighted laughter from the children. Catherine knelt down to speak with some of the younger choir members, her natural warmth making them forget their nervousness entirely. "Did you enjoy singing together?" she asked a small girl from Canada who had been chosen to present a bouquet of flowers. The child nodded enthusiastically and launched into an excited explanation of how they had practiced via video calls for months to prepare for this performance. The choir director explained that children from 12 different Commonwealth countries had participated, with some traveling thousands of miles to be part of this special performance. "It's been an incredible cultural exchange," she told William and Catherine. "These children have formed friendships that will last a lifetime." As the evening began to wind down, Catherine and William gathered with all the performers for a group photograph that would commemorate this special night. The image captured the joy and excitement of everyone involved, from the established stars to the youngest performers, all united by their shared experience of this magical evening. The theater manager presented Catherine with a beautiful program signed by all the performers, a keepsake that she would treasure for years to come. William received a special edition photograph of the historic London Palladium, recognizing his ongoing support of the arts and entertainment industry. "Tonight has been absolutely wonderful," Catherine said to the assembled group. "You've all shown us the very best of British and international talent. The creativity, dedication, and pure joy we've witnessed here tonight is truly inspiring." William added his own thanks, emphasizing how performances like these brought people together across cultural and generational boundaries. Events like the Royal Variety performance remind us why the arts are so essential to our society. You've all contributed to something really special tonight. As they prepared to leave, the young performers spontaneously began singing "God Save the King," their voices harmonizing beautifully in the backstage corridors. Catherine and William stood quietly, clearly moved by this impromptu tribute from the talented young people they had met throughout the evening. The journey back to their car was filled with excited chatter about the performances they had witnessed. Both Catherine and William were energized by their interactions with the performers and the incredible talent they had seen displayed on stage. "That final collaborative number was absolutely brilliant," William said as they settled into their car for the journey home. "The way everyone came together to create something greater than the sum of its parts. That's what these events are all about." Catherine agreed wholeheartedly, already looking forward to next year's performance and wondering what new talents would emerge to dazzle audiences and continue the proud tradition of the Royal Variety performance. As their car pulled away from the London Palladium, the theater lights still glowing warmly against the November night, they both knew they had been part of something truly magical that celebrated the very best of human creativity and entertainment.